Alright gamers, I got to take off a pretty huge bucket list item for me recently. I had the pleasure of speaking to the one and only Josef Fares. Now, you may know him as director of Hazelight Studios, director of movies like Cops, or from his infamous Game Awards appearances. However you know him, it's hard to dispute how much of a creative presence and driving force in gaming Fares is. We chatted about the upcoming release Split Fiction. I also got to play a couple of hours early with Henry. It was so much fun, but I'll get into that in a bit. In case you didn't know, Split Fiction is the latest release in Hazelight's now iconic cooperative split-screen game style, coming to Xbox on the 6th of March. It stars two writers, named after Joseph's two daughters, by the way, who are thrown into the worlds of their own writing. One is this high-tech, futuristic sci-fi universe, and the other a medieval-y fantasy knights and wizards kind of shenanigans. With a mixture of ever-changing mechanics and the need for communication and collaboration, Split Fiction is so ideal to play with your partner, your pal, anyone who will play with you really. Henry and I had so much fun tackling the game's platforming levels and even managed to take down a couple of the game's first boss fights. But the real stars for me though, which you should not miss when you play it, are the side story missions. These appear as little bubbles during levels and have some of the wildest content I think I've ever seen in a video game or ever in real life maybe too. Including a pig that farts rainbows. I obviously had to ask him about that too. And if you have any questions about Split Fiction, please drop them down below. I'd love to chat more about this game to anyone who will listen. Seriously, talk to me, please. First question I'd love to know, and I'm sure everyone who's going to be watching this at home would love to know, what is new in Split Fiction that you're most excited for players to experience?
Well, I have to say, I mean, not only is the game, I mean, I feel it's so great, but I'm really looking forward to see their reactions when they come to the final level. Because again, I've said this many times, they will experience something they haven't seen in a video game done like this. And you will see when you get there. And remember, I said this.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot even imagine the things I've already seen. I cannot believe that there's more, but
there is.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Speaking of not expecting things, where do you even start when you're making these kind of games? Did you kind of have the story in your mind originally and then you kind of built in mechanics? Did you take things from other games that didn't really work and you wanted to put it in? What's the starting point for you?
The first thing was actually the idea of like combining the sci-fi and fantasy. That felt very intriguing, like of having these two entirely different roles and how will they fit together, and they also felt like a nice idea that fitted the story well, because the game is literally about friendship. Is the core of it is about these two human beings that are total contrast, one intro, one extra, and how their journey and their arc into becoming like some. I mean, you will get there to the end, you will understand what I mean. So that was very like it, and it's also fitted the way Hazelight loved to combine mechanics, because it's like not only is it different like a sci-fi and fantasy, but it's also a different world for every level you get. So you got like new assets, new stuff all the time for everything. It just fitted the way we love to make games pretty much. And it felt also intriguing from a perspective. It felt quite unique. It hasn't really been done like this before. I mean, you've had movies that have done it like parallel universes, but jumping between sci-fi and fantasy just felt fresh and cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can't even think of an example where something has been done as directly as this as well, which is really cool. Do you have a favorite mechanic or level in the game that you can share with me just now, like as in one either me or Zoe's like specific mechanics, or is there a favorite level aside from the end?
Yeah, it's really hard. Aside from ending was technically very challenging, obviously, but it's really hard to pick one mechanic, because I mean, you have to understand, I've played this mechanic so many times throughout production. So sometimes you kind of, if you ask me the same questions in a year when I kind of have a perspective on the game, then I would answer you. But I have to say, I'm really proud that we managed to take them to a level where they feel really polished and nice. Like that still to today surprises me, because it's so much in the game, and I'm just happy we managed to. But It's a hard one. Sometimes it's that level, sometimes it's that level. It's really hard to pick one, actually.
For sure. It's like choosing children. No worries.
Uh,
I'll come back to you in a year and I'll ask that one.
yes,
That's all
please
good.
do, please do.
You know, you mentioned about this buddy like partnership that your
Yeah.
two protagonists have, and I really enjoyed like seeing them. You know, it is a fresh relationship and it's about relationship building, and I think that's almost like lost at the moment and a really important story to tell.
Yeah.
And of course, at Hazelight, your focus has been for the last wee while about these co-op game experiences. Can you tell us like why that's so special to you and the whole team that you make these experiences rather than a single player kind of vibe?
Well, to be honest, technically, the first Hazelight game is a single player, which was Brothers, you know. So, but then A Way Out came, and when A Way Out was done, we just felt that there's so much more to be explored here. Because not only, because I mean, we kind of create our own subgenre when you have two unique characters with unique mechanics, and you experience a story together, and you talk about it together. You want to experience stories together, you know, and just play something together that means something, that not just, you know, shooting something or collecting something or so on. Just experiencing a great narrative together. And it just feels that there's so much more to be explored, not only on what you're experiencing on the screen. I mean, the experience also is on the couch. For instance, both in A Way Out, It Takes Two, you're literally like there's so much going on in the couch that's part of almost the design. I mean, we're designing our mechanics to make sure you both that the mechanics obviously, you know, complement each other really good, but also that making sure that the players are communicating. So it's kind of like a part of it, and it's just that there's so much things to be explored. And like you said before, the dynamics of characters is very interesting to tell stories about. I mean, when you have two entirely different people and you can create the drama around that and relate to that character and relate to your character and so on and so on. There's just much to be explored there. I think, you know, that's super exciting.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I mean, I think especially people who have been gaming for an extended period of their lives as well, like memories made while co-op gaming or even just sitting like side by side, you know, special people in their life while they're playing games is like something that maybe sticks with people. Me anyway, speaking like personally, my experience, I literally texted my dad the other day because I was playing The Sims and something that happened, you know, like 20 years ago when I was playing The Sims 1 or whatever, it happened exactly the same way in this new game. And I was like, oh, remember when this happened? Nothing changes. And it was nice to, you know, share that moment with him. So
that's great. Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
really
beautiful.
great. Oh, for sure. I mean, you want to do stuff together. Obviously, you love to play together with someone. It's just that,
For sure.
and you don't always want just to play. I'm not saying I have something against shooter. Shooter could be fun to shoot and have fun, but something you want to experience a story together that you're both controlling. You know, that's something that's very intriguing that people obviously love. I mean, the sales,
Yeah.
you know, by itself says it. I mean, there's something very that people really connect to. You know.
Yeah, that's huge. Something like, well, you've surpassed 20 million, haven't you, for It Takes Two?
Yeah.
That means at least 40 million people have played it, which is wild.
Yeah, and A Way Out have sold like 11 million, so it's kind of crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Congrats to you guys, seriously.
Thank you.
Can you tell me 3 songs that you would use to describe Split Fiction? We're on the spot here, but I can let you think about that.
Actually, one of the songs is actually in the ending. It's specifically done for Split Fiction. You can see it in the credits. If you go to the credits and push it, it'll be played. It's a female artist called Lorraine. She's won the Eurovision.
Yeah.
So she's done a specific song for Split Fiction. And a friend of mine who's the producer. It's a really beautiful song. I think
that's sick.
Yeah. And I'm not so much into music, but if I could say what type of music, I would choose kind of a crazy song. That's always like shifting, and
unexpected,
and also a really, really great song. You know, like something that's like wow, like
the best song ever.
Exactly.
Nice.
But listen to the song in the credit. It's gonna, if you go just to the credit before finishing, just go to the credits and push, and it will play for you.
I will. My fiance is a massive fan of Lorraine from Eurovision, so
Oh,
and
hey,
he has
okay.
like her tattoo and
Oh,
her
okay.
other song like
Oh,
on his
nice.
repeat playlist. So
Yeah.
he'll be very excited about that one to
Nice. Yeah,
hear.
that's specifically written for Split Fiction.
That's sick. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
buzzing. I can't wait to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, let's instead of music, maybe taking it from a movie angle, especially as a director. Do you have a favorite buddy slash unlikely partner duo movie? What's your go-to one? Like
It's
Shrek
you
with
know a
Shrek
buddy
and
movie.
Donkey.
Yeah, sure, that's a beautiful. I mean, but I mean, have you seen Midnight Run? That
No.
Robert De Niro. Like it's kind of an old one, but it's
Okay.
really good buddy movie, and it's really nice when you have this. You have your classical one, Bonnie and Clyde, and like you have. Or sorry, it's not that. What is it called? My brain is kind
Cagney
of.
and Lacey. Bonnie
Yes,
and
yes,
Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde is
yeah, but
it
no,
as
no,
well.
Thelma and Louise, I would say.
Oh, Thelma and Louise. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Thelma and Louise, yeah, that's also a great example. I mean, you have some of it, but there hasn't been a specific one in mind doing this. I mean, but again, the focus on the story is about the friendship, so that is the core of the whole game.
For sure.
You will see it when you play through, also.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking about split fiction, especially parts in the game, I was keeping my eye out as much as possible for Easter eggs and little nods and things. So far, we
Yeah.
found the radio transmission. We found Cutie up, and
Oh, you did?
managed
Okay.
to gravity pool some limbs there,
Yeah.
and the leap of faith or faith in your leap. Can you tell me any other ones, because I'm going to be streaming it next week, so I'd love to, if I can have one that I can go and showcase, that would be sick.
I mean, there is a lot of them there, but I can't spoil them to it. That takes away all the fun. What I can say, though, that there's something hidden in the game that I think will take a while for people to find. But if they find
Okay.
it, they're gonna have a very good surprise. And it's actually quite chunky, the hidden thing. And it's also tremendously challenging.
Okay, that is enough for me. That's perfect.
Yes.
That's all I need. I'll go hunt myself. You're right. Half of the fun is finding it. So
Yeah.
you're quite right. Next question, really quickly. Has anyone sent an invoice to Hazelight for relationship counselling yet? Has that been something that's come through?
So
Has anyone complained? Counselling. Has anyone
Yes, they have, but we have had more people contacting us and saying that they found the love of their life. So, but it's funny you take this up, because I remember 2020 when we did some testing with It Takes Two, we saw when we took in couples, like, because there's so much that you need to communicate with each other. And we saw like, these couples might need to work on their communication. So in a sense, and the good couples had a good communication. So in a sense, if you want to test your relationship, you should play, in a sense, a Hazelight game to test it, because you need to have a good communication to actually continue your progress forward. And if there is an issue, maybe it's time to think about how to, get better at communicating.
Amen. Wise words from Dr. Hakim as well. So
Yeah,
there we
exactly.
go. The counselling is the Hazelight games. I think that's valid. Again, I've played them through with my fiance, and we did okay. So I'm feeling
You're
strong
still
there.
together.
We're still together for now. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll see how split fiction goes. No. Okay, some questions about yourself, if that's all right, really quickly.
Yeah.
I would love to know, did you think you would love to do anything with your life before you were a director, before you wanted to create games? Was there anything else?
I mean,
passion out there?
I realized I wanted to become a director when I was 17 years old, and I started making movies when I was 15. So I think
Nice.
before that, you're kind of a kid. Maybe I wanted to be like, I don't know. I was very like, I really loved Bruce Lee movies. I wanted to maybe become a kung fu star, like that's it. But I was so young then, so I don't know how serious of that thought was. But then I might found the movie. But even before I started making movies, I used to draw these like comics in a book, because I think storytelling has always been part of me. and I don't know why. I mean, could one of the reasons could be that I was brought up in Lebanon, which is a kind of a country where there was a lot of civil war, a lot of like violence and everything. Maybe it was a way for me to escape that and get into another world and create these stories. I don't know. It's a wild guess. I have no clue, but could be that, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's beautiful that you found that through that. On that note, I would be really interested to know, is there influences that you look to incorporate or find yourself incorporating naturally in your work from your heritage or especially Lebanese and Swedish culture? Is there influences from that?
There definitely influences. I think you get influence from everything in life and put in the games or in your work, whatever it is. Uh, and there's definitely like plans in the future of using more. I mean, I've done my third movie was pretty much about my life, how I came to Sweden and so on. Those type of story would be interesting in the future someday, but it's not ready yet. But absolutely, there is like ideas of it in the future. But who knows what happens, you know? As long as
Absolutely.
we feel excited, we're gonna do it.
Heck yeah, I love that. I love that
Yeah.
mentality as well. I would love to know, what's your skincare routine? Because Joseph, you've been looking quite similar for the last 10 years and it's
It's
very impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. It's funny you say because I was on a TV show yesterday and there was this guy. He just came to me. He's like, "The wrong with you?" And he looked at. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I looked up to you when I was young when you were making movies, and you looked like my uncle. Now I look like your uncle. What's going on?" He's like, "You making like any surgeries?" I'm like, "No, man. I don't have any skincare. The only thing I do, I work out and I guess is jeans and that's I use one cream like when I take a shower, but that's like a normal cream. That's it, you know. So I don't have any. I think I'm lucky, but I think one of the things is that I'm passionate on what I do, and that doesn't stress you out, maybe.
Yeah, that definitely comes across
Yeah.
from your person as well as in what you create as well. So that
Oh,
makes a lot of sense.
thank
No,
you.
absolutely. Actually, was there, I would love to know really quickly, actually, a little bit about kind of your experience making games and what advice you would maybe give to someone who's in game development or just, you know, gamers in general.
Sure.
Do you have like any one specific piece of advice, or is there something that you thought about making games that you've changed perspective on now?
No, actually, I've actually, submented that perspective because I think again, like going back to having a clear vision of what to do, but with of course allowing the iteration process, but trusting what you truly believe. I think that's key number one because it's very easy to test games and to adapt, the game so much that the audience should like it. I would argue that make sure to trust your vision and if players don't get it, make sure to make them understand what your vision is about. You see what I mean? So instead of like changing your vision to adapt it to the audience, make sure that they understand what you're doing instead. So there's like a switch in perspective there. So sometimes some game developers out there, change too much to make the players happy, and then they lose what their core thing was. So I would argue that that's a good, tip, or what do you say, like
Advice.
advice.
Nugget of advice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love
Yes,
it.
yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's yeah, super helpful and also inspirational. Can you tell me what's the boxing gloves behind you? They look sick.
That's actually, to be honest, Muhammad Ali's gloves.
Wow.
Yeah, it was one of like this kind of like you see there. I'm a big fan of it. So it was an auction, and like where you donate to actually a good cause. So I won them there actually.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
super
you.
sick. Great
Yeah.
for this kind of vibe, background of,
Exactly. Yeah.
Zoom calls, yeah.
Cool.
Joseph, again, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Ah, what a guy. That was so much fun. Be sure to check out Split Fiction when it comes out on the 6th of March. I loved It Takes Two and A Way Out, but Split Fiction is so next level, and it honestly feels like a little love letter to gaming and to fun. So if you like fun, go play it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.